You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Hello, my name is Selena. This is Bible Tea Time for Children.
The Holy Scriptures. Let the word bring you joy and knowledge.
Everyone, your attention, please.
This is Bible Tea Time for Children. Hi, my name is Selena, and we're going to be reading In the Beginning. And this is one of the greatest Bible stories in the world because it was the first book in the Bible. In the beginning, there was no earth. Imagine there were no animals, no plants, and no people. There were no rocks or air or stars. There was nothing but God. This is the story of how God created heaven and earth and how the world began. In the beginning, the world was an endless, dark, shapeless ocean. God hovered on this darkness and said, "Let there be light." And when he spoke these words, there was light. And God saw that it was good. Then God separated the light from the darkness. He called the light day and the darkness night. Together the light and the darkness became the first day. And God saw again that it was good. On the second day, the world was still only water. So God said, "Let there be space between the waters above and the waters below." Then the sky appeared, and heaven and earth were created. And God saw again that it was good. On the fourth day, God said, "Let bright lights appear in the sky at night. Let these lights shine down on the earth." He created the sun, the moon, and the stars to guide the days and nights. The sun brightened the day, the moon lit the earth at night. The stars twinkled in the night sky. Planets circled the heavens. God set everything in motion to create seasons and measure time. On the fifth day, God filled the earth with life. He said, "Let the seas swarm with fish and other life. Let the skies be filled with birds of every kind." Suddenly the seas were filled with fish, crabs and whales. The skies were singing with robins, bluebirds, and eagles. On the sixth day, God said, "Let the earth give us every kind of animal." And soon there were cows, lions, grasshoppers, and fleas. God still needed someone to care for the plants and animals. He gathered them dust and breathed life into it, and that's how the first man, Adam, was made. On the seventh day, God told Adam to look at the beautiful world. God had created the world, and he saw that it was good. He blessed the seventh day and called the Sabbath, and rested from the hard work of his creation. And God made a beautiful garden called Eden for Adam. He said, "Take good care of the garden. You can eat anything that grows here. The only fruit you must never eat is from the special tree of knowledge. If you eat its fruit, you will die." God brought animals from Adam to name. He brought an animal with a long neck, and Adam called it a giraffe. He brought an animal with a baby pouch, and Adam called it a kangaroo. Each animal had its own special beauty, and Adam was happy. Still, God could see that Adam was lonely, and said, "I will make someone for Adam to love." That night, while Adam slept deeply, God took a rib from Adam's chest and breathed life into it. And that's how the first woman, Eve, was born. When Adam awoke, he saw Eve sleeping next to him. Birds were singing and flowers were blooming, and Adam rejoiced. Adam was no longer alone in the garden. Together, Adam and Eve lived in peace with the animals around them. Everything they needed was provided by God. God was good. Then a snake entered the garden. He was clever, sneaky, and up to no good. One day he hissed, "Why don't you try one of these delicious fruits?" And he nodded toward the ripe fruit hanging from the tree of knowledge. At first Eve said no, but the snake convinced her that one little bite wouldn't hurt. It was so delicious, Eve wanted to share the fruit with Adam, and he tasted it too. Adam and Eve knew they'd made a terrible mistake. God had asked only one thing of them, and they had let him down. What could they do? They hid among the leafy trees. Adam heard God calling out to him. So he stepped forward. "You have eaten from the tree of knowledge," God said. Adam pointed to Eve and said, "She brought me fruit." Eve pointed to the snake and cried, "He tricked me into eating it." Angrily, God cursed the snake. "You will crawl on your belly and eat dust for the rest of your life." Then he turned to Adam and Eve. "You have disobeyed me. You must leave this lovely garden. You will face my challenges, and one day you will die." Sadly, they stepped out into the world of life. It was no longer easy, but they knew that God still cared about them and always would. Noah's Ark. Noah was a good man who lived in a long time ago. God asked him to do something special to save his family and the animals of the world. Noah had to show patience, hard work, and courage. Noah lived with his family. God knew they were good people, but other people in the world were not good like Noah. God told Noah there would be a huge flood. The rain would fall, and the oceans would rise. All of the earth would be covered in water. God told Noah that he would be kept safe, but only if he did what God told him to do. God told Noah to build a huge boat called an ark. The ark would need to fit Noah and his family, and 2 of every animal in the world. Noah and his sons worked hard to build the ark, and finally it was done. As Noah sat in the ark, the animals came 2 at a time, from the tiniest mouse to the largest elephant. 2 donkeys, 2 giraffes, 2 oxen, 2 cats, 2 pigs, 2 horses, 2 dogs, 2 foxes, and every other kind of animal in the whole world walked onto the ark. Noah was sure if they all would fit, but whenever 2 more would arrive, the other animals made room. Just when he thought of all the animals he had arrived, along came 2 of every kind of bird. Once every animal was on the ark, the wind started to blow and the rain started to fall. God told Noah it was time for to shut the ark and prepare for the flood. God said, "For 40 days and 40 nights the rain will not end." The rain poured down. It rained and rained. The ocean rose up with waves after wave, covering the land. At first the waves were wild, and the ark rocked back and forth. Even the highest mountains were covered with water. Noah's family waited patiently. The animals waited patiently. Everyone tried not to fight or squirm. They all knew they would be in the boat for a very long time. Finally, the rain stopped. The water slowly began to get lower and lower. The ark came to rest on the top of a mountain. Noah opened a window and watched as the water continued to go down. Noah wanted to make sure it was safe to go outside. He sent a dove to look for dry land. Then the dove returned, and Noah knew it had not found dry land. 7 days later, Noah sent the dove out again. When the dove returned, it was carrying an olive branch in its beak. Noah now knew there must be trees above the water at last. A week later, Noah sent the dove out again, and this time it didn't come back. Noah knew the dove had found a home and that the earth was safe and dry. It was time for the animals to be let out of the ark. Noah walked onto the land with all of the pairs of animals. Cats and foxes, pigs and horses, and birds flying all around. Once all the animals had left the ark, they gathered around Noah, and he began to pray. He thanked God that the earth was dry again and that his family was safe. God promised he would never send a flood to cover the earth again. As a sign of his promise, God created the first rainbow. It filled the whole sky with color. Now I have some questions, and they're going to go with the books that I read. Who convinced Eve to taste the fruit from the tree of knowledge? I'm glad you asked. The snake. Did Adam and Eve think it was a mistake to eat the fruit from the tree of knowledge? I'm glad you asked. Yes. How did God punish Adam and Eve? I'm glad you asked. He kicked them out of the garden. Now we're going to do Noah. What did God do to the people, to the earth, because people were not good like Noah? I'm glad you asked. He flooded it with water. Who built an ark when God asked him to? I'm glad you asked. Noah. What people were on the ark besides Noah? I'm glad you asked. Noah's family. How many of each animal came aboard the ark? I'm glad you asked, too. How many days did it rain while Noah was on the ark? I'm glad you asked. 40. Why did Noah send a dove out of the ark when the rain stopped? I'm glad you asked. To find dry land. Jonah and the whale. Jonah and the whale. One day, God told Noah, "Get up and go to the city of Nineveh. Tell the people there to change their bad ways." Jonah had heard of Nineveh. It was a huge and busy city in the land far away. Jonah did not want to go because he thought people in Nineveh were bad and needed to be punished. But God had told him to go. Jonah had always been good at hiding. He decided it was time to hide from God. He found a ship leaving for a town in a different direction. God would never find him there, he thought. He paid the sailors to take him aboard. Once the ship was at sea, God created a huge storm around it. Heavy waves crashed across the ship's deck. First, the sailors tried to lighten the boat. They tossed cargo in the sea. Then the sailors began to pray to their gods. Everyone prayed except Jonah. The captain noticed that he had actually fallen asleep, curled up in the ship's hold. "What's the matter with you?" the captain asked. "Why aren't you praying?" Jonah didn't answer. The sailors decided to cast lots to find out who was causing the storm. The lot said it was Jonah. All of the sailors stared at him, and wind waves crashed on the ship. "What have you done to cause this?" asked the sailor. Jonah explained that he was running away from God. The sea became even stormier. Another sailor asked, "What should we do to calm the storm?" "You have to throw me overboard," he said. Jonah said sadly. At first, the sailors didn't want to throw Jonah overboard. They rowed as hard as they could for dry land, but the storm swirled around them and beat their boat against the waves. Finally, together they picked up Jonah and dropped him into the sea. The storm calmed right away. The clouds cleared, the bright sun shone above. The sailors sadly rowed along their way, while Jonah sank beneath the waves. Jonah sank down into the dark sea. He felt certain he would die, and he closed his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, he seemed to be in a damp cave. He could hear a loud thump, 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 like an enormous heartbeat. Just then, a rush of water knocked him off his feet, and he held onto a barnacle as a school of minnows swam past him. All of a sudden, Jonah realized where he was. He was trapped in a belly of a whale. Jonah thanked God for sparing his life. Jonah knew he was giving him a second chance. "Dear God," he prayed, "I will do what you've asked me to do. Please let me out of this whale's belly." For 3 days and 3 nights, Jonah prayed to God. He wondered if he would ever see his home again. He felt bad for disobeying God and running away. Finally, his prayers were answered. Jonah was spit ashore by the whale. Jonah dried himself off and set out the road to Nineveh. He was scared by the crowded streets of Nineveh, but he knew what he had to do. He walked around shouting, "Repent, repent. You have 40 days to repent, or God will destroy Nineveh." To Jonah's surprise, people paid attention. Little children tugged on their parents' sleeves and stopped to stare and listen. Workers put down their tools and scratched their chins. Thoughtfully, the king's messenger heard Jonah's message and ran up the path to the palace. Everyone in Nineveh repented. Even the king took off his rich clothes. God was pleased and decided not to destroy the city after all. The people of Nineveh celebrated. Only Jonah was unhappy. "God, I'm so mad at you," he shouted. "Why would you want to save these bad people?" He ran out of the city and built a small hut where he sat by himself. Jonah was very uncomfortable in his hut. The sun baked through the roof and made his head feel hot enough to melt. Then overnight, God grew a tree that completely covered Jonah's hut. The tree had wonderful cool shade. When Jonah woke up, he felt relaxed and happy. Jonah spent the day whistling and daydreaming. He fell asleep by the lovely of the breeze through the branches of the tree. The next morning, Jonah woke up to the hot sun on his head. He saw the tree dead on the ground, with tears pouring down his face. Jonah said, "I can't believe you killed this beautiful tree." Now I'm going to read the questions. To my little monkey doll. What was the weather like when Jonah was aboard the boat? What was that? Oh, yes, stormy. Which animal did God send to save Jonah from drowning? What was that? What? Oh, a whale, yes. Jonah yelled, "Repent, repent," in which city? What was that? Nineveh, yes. What was the weather like when Jonah was aboard the boat? What was that? Stormy, yes. And the last story I'm going to read is David and Goliath. David and Goliath. David and Goliath. David was the youngest of 8 sons. He was a handsome boy who took care of his family, his sheep. He spent his days on the rolling hills, making sure the sheep were safe and well cared for. Just as David was good at tending sheep, he was also good at playing a harp. He could also pluck melodies so beautiful that the sheep in his fields would stop to listen. King Saul, the king of Israel, heard of David's music and asked the boy to come play for him. David's melodies moved the treble to king. From then on, David traveled back and forth to play for King Saul and cared for his father's sheep. Not long after King Saul's army began to prepare for war against the Philistines, David wanted to join the army, but he was too young. David's brothers were old enough, so they set out to join the other soldiers in the valley of Elah. David's father worried about his sons. He asked David to go after them, bring them food, and make sure they were safe. When David arrived, he saw the 2 great armies preparing for battle. On one side stood the Israelites. On the other side stood the Philistines. Each army formed a line that stretched as far as the eye could see. Before David had a chance to greet his brothers, the enemy line parted, and a soldier stepped forward. But this was not an ordinary soldier. This was a fierce-looking giant. David could not believe his eyes. This terrifying giant named Goliath was as tall as 4 men, standing one on top of another. Each day Goliath stepped forward and spoke the same words to the Israelites. "Is there one man who will come forward and fight me? If you can kill me, we'll become your servants. But if I kill you, your soldiers will become our servants." As the soldiers trembled with fear, David asked loudly, "Why doesn't anyone fight him?" Suddenly David's brothers felt embarrassed. They grew angry. "Why are you here?" they asked. "Why aren't you home taking care of the sheep?" But David continued, "If no one else will fight him, I will fight." "You are too young," said his brothers. "You are a musician, not a soldier," said King Saul, you don't have enough experience to fight this Philistine. David replied, all these years I've kept the sheep safe from the lions and bears that have tried to kill them. God will give me courage. If I can face wild animals, I can face the giant. David insisted so strongly that King Saul finally agreed. If you are going to fight the giant, you must have a sword and armor like this, said King Saul. He helped David put on a magnificent suit of armor, but the armor was too big and heavy, and David took it off. Nearby was a stream, and David reached down into the clear water. He pulled out one smooth stone, and then another, until he had 5 in all. He had all that he needed, his slingshot, 5 stones, and God by his side. As David neared Goliath, the giant took a step forward and laughed. His water issued throughout the valley. Goliath said, all you've brought are sticks. Am I supposed to run and fetch them like some dog? Surely you need more than sticks and stones to fight a great warrior like me. I have all I need, said David. Then he took a round stone from his pocket, balanced it carefully in his slingshot, and pulled it back. There was silence as David let go. The stone sailed through the air. It hit Goliath squarely in the middle of his forehead, and with a huge thud that shook the entire valley, Goliath fell to the ground in a cloud of dust. With Goliath's great fall, King Saul's soldiers shouted and cheered. The war was over before it had begun. The sounds of celebration rang from every hill and valley in the kingdom. Brave young David had killed the mighty giant in one blow. Now I'm going to read the last questions to my monkey doll, Annabelle. What is the name of the giant Philistine whom David battled? What was that? Ooh, yes, Goliath. What instrument did David play? Oh, yeah? What was that? Oh, a harp, yes. Was David old enough to join the army? What was that? Oh, no. You were right. Did David wear armor to fight Goliath? What was that? Oh, he did not. You are cool. What did David use to fight Goliath? What was that? Ooh, yes, slingshot. How many stones did David take to fight Goliath? What was that? What was it? Oh, yes. It was 5. What is the name of the giant Philistine whom David battled? Yes, Goliath. What instrument did David play? What was that? Harp, yes. See you next time on Bible Tea Time for Children. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.